Tuning in to the Vowel and Vow Show, where conversation is art, 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 art. Conversation is art, conversation is art. You should chime in, ain't no telling what to spark on the Vowel and Vow Show. Ain't no telling the Vowel and Vow Show. You know, ain't no telling where we go on the Vowel and Vow Show. Ain't no ceiling, cause the art of conversation is the flow. It's that creativity available when we speak, available in our homes, available in the streets. We just trying to get it sparking and take it a little deeper. Keep it casual while fireside chatting with our people. Yeah, we take it a little deeper. It get hot when we fireside chatting with our people. Cause conversation is art, conversation is art. You should chime in, ain't no telling what'll spark on the Vow, the Vow and Vow Show, the Vow and Vow Show.
Well, hello everyone. Hope everything is great. As you can see, I am all alone. I don't have the other Val, but I'm gonna be strong. He had an appointment tonight, so he couldn't make it. So hope all is well, and everybody in our area, hope you are safe because it has been raining and having storms and everything, and it's hot. And you all know what happens in the south when it's hot, when the storms popping up. So we're gonna pray that don't no tornadoes drill down because we've had enough of that. Trust me, in the past few weeks, we've had some bad weather to happen here in the past few months. So we do not want any more tornadoes to drill down in the south or anywhere as far as that go. So hope all is well. Look, you all, we have somebody tonight that's been our guest. It's actually been a little over a year, and she is multi-talented. Believe me, you know, I love what they refer to her as the silky smooth jazz artist, and you will find that out because you know, even though we're bringing her on for another reason tonight, we just can't have a singer like her come on and not play some of her music. So I am not gonna take any more of your time. I'm gonna bring Miss Sharon Ray North right on in the room. Welcome. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing great. So great to see you again. Great to
You
see you.
too. You too. Oh, I forgot to turn my light on here. Let me turn my light
Turn the
on.
light on.
Is
Yeah.
it too bright?
You good. You good.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, so what's been happening in your world, lady, since we last talked to you?
Wow, a little bit of everything. If it was February of last year that we spoke, I had a single out then, and from the upcoming album, and now the upcoming album is the current album, and my book came out, and another single was released, and now another single is getting ready to release from the album, and I'm back doing shows. And I know when we talked last, I was having some throat issues, and those have largely resolved, and
Great.
everything is good.
Yeah, because I've been keeping up with you because you've been real busy. And I was actually, when I was reading up, you know, to get prepared, I realized you had just released Moments. And you thought, you know, as we all thought when COVID came, 14 days, we're
Hmm.
going to be back into the world. And you expected to release that album in 2020. However,
I
all
did.
delays are not denials,
That's right. That's
And it's
right.
been some awesome playtime. I always say God's timing always works
Yeah.
best.
Yeah. The singles have that we released We Should Be in well, Moments came out in what, 2019.
20, yeah.
Yeah, and then December of 21, well, actually January of 22, we released We Should Be in Love. The actual music video came out in December of 21.
Okay.
And then some months later, we released Heart of Mine as
Okay.
the next single. And we are it's already been released digitally, The Kiss That Wakes You, and it's going to radio very soon.
Wow, the Kiss Says Wait You. That sounds kind of interesting right there.
It is.
That sounds pretty interesting right there. So look, Sharon, let's share with give the folks some of your background. 'Cause they're probably wondering, Silky Smooth, jazz singer, and you just told us that she's just wrote a book. People may be a
Mhm.
little confused, so let's tell the people a little bit about your background and where you come from.
Well, as far as my artistic endeavors, the books, since you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned those, I actually have written 2 books.
Okay.
One is a children's book called My Brand New Leg, about a little girl who wears a prosthesis, and that book has just done phenomenally well. It just went global, just everywhere.
Wow.
One of my friends texted me yesterday. She lives in Virginia near Norfolk and Hampton and Virginia Beach, and she was telling me that she just yesterday had read it to her 6-year-old daughter's class at school.
Mm-hmm.
And the book has, I mean, pardon the pun, but the book has legs. And because this people don't realize it, this book will be 20 years old this fall. It's
Wow.
been 20 years
Wow.
since that book was published, and people still buy it. I don't think it's in any bookstores anymore,
Okay.
but people still order it from me. They'll
Awesome.
go on my website and order, and I'll ship it to them. It might still be on Amazon because it was on Amazon when there were very few books on Amazon, 20 years ago. So that's the first book. And the second book came out in the spring, last
Mm-hmm.
spring. And that one is called Fantastically Francis, The Sayings and Snarks of My Mama, the Senior. And that one has done really well so far too. It's people order it from me. When they order it from me on my website, they get signed copies. Um, I sign it and my mom signs it.
Okay.
Yeah, when they order it from Amazon, I mean, they get the same book, just, it's just not signed, but
Oh,
it's doing well. It is.
yeah. Cause I ordered it, and this is my confession time. Been looking at the book. I ordered it probably shortly after you had actually published it.
You did.
Outline and
Hmm.
everything. Couldn't find it, but look, thank goodness I look. Me and Sharon have developed a friendship here, so. But I'm gonna reorder and definitely gonna order the children's book because that's so important for
Hmm.
representation for children. Because we see now, especially with the way prosthetics have just woo, they got some high tech legs and feet and everything
Oh
now.
yeah, major, major.
It's not slowing. I mean, those kids performing better than us with real legs. They really are the
And
blades, as they call them now.
I found out when I wrote it that there are some type of, I don't know, maybe legal ramifications for schools that
Mm.
they have books and stuff in their library that deal with disabilities. And when that book came out, oh my goodness, my mom had just moved. She had just retired in May in Ohio and had just moved to Georgia with me that
Mm-hmm.
September. And the book came out that September. And I mean, we hit the road with that book. We were all over the country with that book. And people would see me at book signings, like at Borders Books and stuff. And then they would be like, "Do you travel with the book? Because we would like you to come to Mississippi." And that's a true story. A lady saw me in Georgia and invited me to
Mm-hmm.
come to Mississippi to do book signings and stuff. And we went. We were everywhere with that book. It was so much fun. We had a great time.
Time, yeah, and I definitely can't wait to order. And as I said, we have a young lady here named Devin Frazier, who actually her mission. She's an educator, but she has a organization called I See Me Inc. And
Hmm.
her goal and her I'm gonna say her ministry is to break the school to prison pipeline due to illiteracy
Hmm.
because she came on and gave us stats saying kids if they cannot read by I think fourth grade and comprehend, they are
Oh
more
wow.
likely to end up in jail, go to prison, or possibly dead, and definitely will be in poverty because of that. And so she has gotten this going, and she goes all down the black belt. And what and the IC Inc. is, she want black children to get the majority of their books of characters about them, and other children of colors, the majority of theirs about them, so they can see representation as well as others.
Totally.
Uh,
Mhm.
yeah, so I'm definitely gonna be sewing some of your those books into her business because we gotta
Yeah.
support, and of course we didn't even talk about that much. When you were on the last time for sure. Look, your friend Carter don't showed up. He said, "Great book, I love mine."
Wait, he's
And
talking about Fantastically Francis.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, oh yeah, she is something else. Like, you know what I love though? The thing about it with our elders, some of their sayings and stuff. And some people get mad. Well, they just need to stop there. They shouldn't be saying that. Listen, when you reach a certain age, you just, you know what?
You say
It
what you
is
want
what
to
it
say.
is. It
Yeah.
is what it is. It is what it is. So
Yep.
let's talk about how you came about even deciding to write the book. Because, your mom's probably been saying these sayings for a long time.
Oh yeah, and she comes up with new ones, and I mean, and not all of it is just saying. A lot of it's just conversations.
Conversation.
Yeah, like when we had the other night about dinner. When she went in on me about dinner. So I just started some years ago. Just kind of writing stuff down, posting stuff on Facebook that she would say. And I knew that I wanted to do a book about it, but then people kept asking me to do a book.
Yeah.
I would post something on Facebook and they were like, "You got to write a book. You got to do a sitcom. You got to." I'm like, "A sitcom?" You know,
You probably
they,
can get it today, Sharon. You probably can
yeah,
get it.
they wanted more. One guy even, he sent me a message. He DM'd me on Facebook and he was like, "Tell your mom we love her in Ethiopia." And I'm like,
Wow.
yeah. So, I mean, her stuff just went global, with the things she says. And so I started putting the book together. It took me a few years to
Yeah.
put it all together. And while I was doing it, she didn't really know. And then one day, you know, my sister said, "Well, you should tell Ma you're writing that book." So I told her, but it was nowhere near finished yet. So we never even talked about it again. She was just like, "Oh, okay." I read her a couple things and she kind of laughed, but she never knew how far along it had gotten until it was finished. And they had
Okay.
sent me the proof of it. And the proof was the whole book, only it wasn't bound yet.
Okay.
So I could, back in the day, you would take pages you wanted to change and send back those pages. Now it's all electronic, but they still sent me that proof. And when I got it in the mail, I was like, oh, mm. And my sister said, "You better tell her, tell her." So I told her. I was like,
Okay.
okay. I said, "Mom, remember when I told you I was writing that book?" And she was like, "Yeah." And I was like, here it is. I said, "Be careful because the pages are not bound, so they'll fall out all over the floor." And she looked at it and she said, "Can I read it?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "I never thought I'd see the day where somebody had written a book about me." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, here it is." And then after a couple days, she was like, "I don't think I said all that." I'm like, "You did. You did say that."
Don't you love it? Don't you love it? But you know what, Sharon, as I hear you're talking, and I can see how she could be really just wow that a, a book has been written about her because as I read it and looking at your mom was born in 1938, the youngest of 14 children.
Mhm.
So being born in 1938 with no probably no easy life, and definitely, well, I would like to say, um, life did get better, but unfortunately today we like, wait a minute, what y'all trying to do? You know what I'm saying? It's almost like, I don't know if you heard about it here, in one of our school systems here, Hoover, I'll say it, and my kids went to the school system. Thank God that I would have probably went to jail, but we had a black author who he went and They canceled him. He was scheduled to come here for Black History Month, and I can't think of his name right now. But uh, a parent complained that they felt like his personal Facebook posters were CRT related and all that stuff. You know what that comes with,
Wow.
and
Yeah,
they actually
critical.
canceled his appearance. Someone just told me the volume is low. Carter, can you hear me well? Let me know because someone just shared that they said the volume is low. But so that's, I mean, we run a risk. Of course, yours is about a child with disability. Hopefully, they wouldn't want to pull that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it's still, we're at risk for getting it. They're saying the volume is low. Okay, that's a new one. Look, we coming up with new stuff. Last week we had an echo. I don't know what's going on. Apologize for that. So let me know if it gets better. I turned up my volume. I don't know if that will make a difference on y'all end or not. But yeah, so we really have to be mindful of, things have been attacked. So her born in 1938, and then I went on to read that by the time she was 17, her dad died. Her mom died when she was 6.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of moved around, stayed with some older siblings, and then at 17, your
Her
mama,
dad died.
her dad died, and then
Hmm.
by the time she was 62, she had lost all of her siblings.
Everybody,
Wow.
everybody was gone, but her kids, me and my sister, and her
That
grandkids and
that is
stuff.
just
Yeah.
wow. That is just
Yeah.
wow. That is just wow. So that's amazing. I mean, just for her to push through and go, those are heavy losses of everything.
Very heavy. You don't, when you're a kid and growing up, you don't think about the strength and the resilience and the resolve of someone, but she had all of that.
Yes,
You
most
understand it
definitely.
more as you're older, but yeah, we didn't understand, like sometimes we d- we got spanking sometimes, because people spanked their kids back then. We didn't get like murdered, or anything. She was not like beating us. We got little spanking sometimes.
Yeah.
Because we knew some kids they got it way worse than we did. And but she didn't play. My mother was funny and silly, and she would joke around and stuff, but she did not play. And we didn't understand it until we got older. It's like she was not about to let us have control of her house. She wasn't relinquishing control to the kids because some people do that. Their kids are just taking over, but she wasn't having it.
Well, Mama, and look, you didn't. Honestly, we didn't have to get too many spankles. They had those looks,
That too. That
and then
too.
some of them had a pinch or they had a
She
knuckle.
had that. She had the pinch.
So I
Mhm.
mean, I know they talk about spankings, and there's a difference between spanking and abusing a child.
Yes.
But at the same time, when you're raising children, you must establish who's in charge in here.
Mhm.
You must establish who's in charge in here because if you don't, they would take over your house. Hey, and then not at teenagers. Some of them are running the house at 9 and 10.
Yep.
And plus, what you're saying, your mom was a single mom. She knew, you know, that she was gonna have y'all thinking that she would kill you, even though you knew she would not. She would not. So I just think it's
Mm.
amazing that you've honored her in this way. And I think as children, we need to think about those things. It may not be writing a book, but just valuing and appreciating those things. I think of my daughter, even before I met you, she's actually started compiling some of the things my mom and my grandmother said. And even now, some things I think back, I'd be like, I thought that was kind of crazy, but now that little saying makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
Makes a lot. And one of my mom's favorite was, Val, people may paint your name all over the town. Don't you furnish the paint? And I'm like, paint? What are you talking about? And then it hit me one day. It was like, oh, don't let what people say be true. Because people gonna talk about you no matter
Mhm.
what. No
Yeah.
matter what. Hey there, La Cherie. That's Valton's wife. She just logged on.
Oh,
Yeah, so she's here. So mom, look, mom just retired 2 days ago, 2003.
my mom has been retired. It'll be 20 years, June 1st.
First.
And so she's been living with me. It'll be 20 years in September.
So y'all roommates. Okay, now look, Sharon, we gotta talk about that a little bit. I didn't have to live with my parents up here, but as they age going back, of course there were times I had to spend weeks or 2 weeks, and then my mom had time. It's a lot different when you show back up as a full grown adult and have your parents and living with your parents and you having your mom in your house. And I know that can be like, you want her to maintain her autonomy and independence. However, is your house. So but you still feel like a little kid if you need to address something. So you had to navigate that. So how you
No,
and
I
mom
don't.
navigate that? You did good.
Well, when my mom first moved with me, we were living in Georgia. Now we're in Northern Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And I built my house in Georgia in 2000. So I was in it about 3.5 years when she moved in.
Okay.
And so I kind of knew my neighbors and stuff, and I introduced her to neighbors, and she would go walking with them, those that were in her age range and stuff. And there was a senior center that was being built, and they finished it maybe a year and a half later, and she joined the senior center, and she was there
Okay.
a lot, because at the time she was only 65. And, she still drove and, got around good and everything. I would do dry runs with her going places so she wouldn't get lost, because she wasn't used to, being in Georgia and stuff. But she did good, but that was 20 years ago, and now she's 85,
Mm-hmm.
and she doesn't drive anymore. She couldn't even get her driver's license again last time she tried because she doesn't see well enough. But she had already stopped driving. She said, I just don't see well enough anymore. But she was really upset when she couldn't get that driver's license renewed. And I said, well, Ma, you haven't driven in, a couple years anyway. So that's all right, but now she doesn't cook anymore. She'll put a pot pie or something in the oven. I do the cooking. and and it had gotten to the point where sometimes she would take, because I work full time, so she would take the leftovers out, and I'm like, "Now, Ma, no, she could have put this stuff in the microwave and set it on the island in the kitchen for me to heat it up when I get home." She just take it out the refrigerator. I'm like, "What in the world?" So yeah, how when people get old, they get 50 million doctor's
Yeah.
appointments, and so I have to get her to the doctor's appointments, and
I call it raising parents. That's literally, even with my parents in their old age, I was like, I am literally raising parents. And the art of raising parents is the challenge of, okay, you want to keep them safe. You want to keep them as active as doing as many things they can, but at the same time, sometimes you gotta have that draw that line in the sand and say, no, you can't do that anymore. And I laughed when your mom didn't get a license. She said, just because I can see that chart, that didn't
yes,
have me get my license.
yeah, just because. I'm like, "Ma, the whole point of driving is because you can see where you're going." You
Even though she
know?
wasn't driving anymore, the fact that they
Mm-mm.
said you could not have your license. So we challenge that. But now, Sharon, look, we got to go back, even though this is not in your book. I read this on your Facebook page. Tell the people what she said about that meal you just cooked.
Well, earlier this week, I made dinner one day, and it wasn't my best. I you know, I was tired and I cooked, but it was like, this is really marginal. So when we finished, I said, Mom, do you want me to, put this in the refrigerator, leftovers and that? No, throw all that out. So I put it down the garbage disposal and I said, yeah, it really wasn't good. And she's like, the worst meal we ever had. And I said, ever? You mean to tell me there was one worse? I'm like,
They can. It is amazing. Sometimes, y'all, let's be real. Sometimes your parents can say some little stuff to you and it be like, woo, that kind of stung a little bit. But it don't even phase them. It don't even phase them.
nope, mm-mm, they don't care.
But you know what? I laughed at this one. You called it unfiltered. Is it Francisms?
My sister calls them
Calls them.
Francisisms.
Yeah, Francisism. And this is something about Jane Fonda, y'all. She said, Jane Fonda is only a month older than me. She just got arrested for the fifth time. And then your mom say, she's got me beat. I was only arrested three times. And you're like, did you did you know that? Or did you even believe it, Sharon, or what?
I knew about one.
One.
I knew about one, but I was like, 3?
That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, grown folks, we ain't gonna say exactly what this will mean. Y'all should
Uh-oh,
know. Google it. It was a
uh-oh.
Jeopardy question about H&M, the clothing store. Ma said she didn't know what the H stood for. Plus she thought it was about sex. That's S&M. Ma, you told her, and she said, "Well, that's what I've heard of. Other words, I ain't heard of H&M." So
Now I heard of S&M.
yeah, and even now, I'm only 57, and if I say some things, wait, and my kids be like, "Oh, mama, I can't believe that," and I be like, "Really? I was your age at one point in life. I wasn't born.
Right?
I wasn't born this age. It's just funny, but." And I love this one when you said, your mom said, "I never dressed in front of my husband, undressed in front of my husband before." In my day, you didn't do that. You didn't take off your clothes in front of a man. And you said, when you took off something, you have two kids. I just
Ooh, the
thought that
look
was
she gave
hilarious.
me. Ooh, she glared at me when I said that. I'm like, "Well, it's true."
It is true. And Sherry, actually had to go through back years of Facebook posts to pull out some of this
I
stuff,
put out
right?
yeah, yeah, because I knew I had posted a lot of stuff didn't even make it in. This book could have been well over 100 pages, but I'm like, "You have to stop eventually." Just,
Stop for real, for real.
Mhm.
Now
Mhm.
this one right here, I thought was funny, and she talked about this, and we hear this all the time. I was a Negro for a long time till they start calling us black, and that was James Brown fault. That's what Mama Francis say. That was James
Mm.
Brown fault. He made that song, "Say It Loud." I'm black and I'm proud. When I was young, if you call somebody black, they will beat y'all fill in the blank. That's what Mama Francis said. Okay. And that's true.
It is true.
Black was a very derogatory, triggering
It was.
word. It
Mhm.
was. You would get your lights beat down. So it
Mhm.
was. Now, for some of our people out there listening, we are talking about, how old is your mom now again?
85.
We're talking about an 85-year-old, okay? Bear in mind now when I read some of this stuff. Shit, Ma said, when you think when somebody's ugly, they would try to have a baby with somebody who looks better than them. That's what Mama said. And that's what older folks say. They say, well, it used to be kids say the darndest thing. We could say seniors say the darndest thing.
'Cause they do.
Do and they really can become, the funny thing about this I've noticed when with older people, even people that normally may have been a little bit mild mannered, they can become very unfiltered as they get older. Now, this what I love sharing right here about this new house you built. Tell the people what
Oh,
your mama called it. What she told your cousin.
it was the projects. Now
Why
that
did
we
she
live in the
feel that?
project, because that was our first time living in a townhouse. And although we were on an end unit, I paid a lot of extra money to be on that end unit because I didn't want her to feel boxed in. And
Yeah.
so her bedroom was on the first floor. It had a first floor master suite. And she had windows, in her bathroom, on the side of the house, windows at the back of the house. She could look out into the backyard. But because there was that one shared wall with the people next door, she called it the projects. Mhm.
Hey, I can see that. I remember one time we were looking when we were house shopping, and we went in this very, very nice neighborhood. I mean, probably at that time, 250, $300,000 homes. And my daughter said, she said, these look like glorified projects. And I was like, she was probably about 12. I was like, what are you talking about? You know, this place got a lake in the middle of it. And she said, Mom, every house is the exact same footage from the street. She said there are no sidewalks. And she just went through these things that to her just made it feel like, yeah, these $300,000 houses, but they just like public housing to me. And I was like, okay.
We had sidewalks, and my sister I told my sister, I'm like, "Mom just called us the projects." I called my sister. She said, "No, she didn't." I said, "She did." I heard on the phone. My sister's like, "I have never seen projects with granite countertops, wood floors," you know, because I had so many upgrades in that thing when I built it. I'm like, and she kept saying it, "The projects." I'm like, "Wow, we're not, trust me, we're not in the projects."
So long story short, she was thinking, for her and her age, I need me a front porch. I need my own yard and her space. Is
We
that what she
had a
wants?
yard. We had a beautiful fenced-in backyard. I had a brick paver patio put in with a built-in barbecue grill and the retractable awning that I paid, several $1,000s for because it
Oh,
was
she won't
remote
think about
controlled.
that. She was like, it's
Mm-mm.
attached to these other people.
That one wall. Mhm. We couldn't even
So,
see the other people.
oh my goodness. So yeah. So, but you know what? That's especially when people getting older, they have their things they like, and it's like going through change. Thank God we were able to keep both my parents in their home because that was one of the nightmares we talked about. Lord Jesus, if we have to move them out of this house or whatever, this is not gonna go well. So look, God just said, "No, what? I'm just gonna call both of them home," and we didn't have to go through that, which I'm thankful for because I know for some people you don't have a choice
Yeah.
but to move them. And thankfully, she came to live with you.
Mhm.
Sometimes the battle is convincing them that they cannot live alone
And
anymore.
yeah, and she probably she'd be at that point now. Back when she moved with me, she was fine living by herself. And
Hmm.
then last week, my cousin called. He had been home in Ohio, and he called and told her that the house that I grew up in had been torn down. And she was kind of sad. Seemed like Danny said the house was torn down. I said, "What house?" "The house on St. Louis." And I was like, "Oh." She was just kinda like I'm like,
Yeah.
"Ma, you ain't lived there in 20 years."
She had a connection still with that. And it's
Yeah.
fun to me. I don't have sentimental values like that. Like, even though my sister lives in the house that I was born and raised in, if
Mhm.
she had not come back home, it to me, once my parents left that house, the whole meaning of it took on a whole different structure for me. I always say the sentimental things that matter to me, I have them. Like quilts and pictures and little
Mhm.
china and different stuff, which my mom gave all of us while she was alive. So I tell people now, if you want to maintain some sentimental stuff, I'm not the chick.
That's how my sister is too.
Yeah.
I'm a little sentimental, because I was actually, they brought me home from the hospital to that house,
House. Okay.
so I don't think I felt like she did, but I was like, "Wow, the house is gone." Because every time I'm back home, which is not very often, every few years, I'll
Yeah.
drive by, and whoever bought it, I guess they don't own it anymore, some because it was empty and it was absolutely horrible, looked like it was falling to the ground,
Hmm.
and I was like, "Wonder why the city doesn't tear that house down," and now they did.
Did. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Here's what I thought was so funny. You and Junior were teasing your mom saying how big her butt it got. And she told
Uh-oh.
y'all, yeah, now that I'm old, ain't nobody looking at it. So what she say is useless. It don't matter. It don't matter. Now, who did these drawings in your book, Karen? They are simply beautiful, Sharon, of her.
Alvin Long did them. I sent Alvin a bunch of pictures and told him to just make them into drawings, and he did, and he really captured them. They look pretty much like the pictures did. Um, Alvin and I have a lot of mutual friends, and we've actually met now because he lives in Maryland, but we have a lot of mutual friends in the music industry. And so, we were in touch about stuff because he's always submitting pictures in one of the groups that we're in with our friends and stuff. So
Yeah, I just put the picture up because I wanted them to see this one in particular. And here it says, "I might be a half fool, but I ain't gonna, but I ain't gonna be no whole one." And that that's definitely something to keep in mind. Look, it's kind of like use me once, shame on you.
mhm,
Use me
mhm,
twice, shame on me.
right.
So now, so with mom, now we gotta talk about Christmas, Sharon, because now that was hilarious too about that Christmas tree. Share that
This
story with them.
you go ahead. You go.
Okay, Sharon, you put up how many trees did you put up, Sharon?
This past Christmas, it was 2.
It was
N
two.
mhm.
And you had put one look like in the foyer. Was it in the foyer or
Yeah, it was right by the foyer on this kinda narrow wall, probably a
yeah.
wall that's about maybe 3.5 feet wide, and it fit there beautifully, and it was there the Christmas before.
And Sharon Mama decided this year, not this year. So I think Sharon, when you posted, you moved that tree 3 times.
I have
And
moved
after
that
moving
tree.
it, she said, "What? Put it back where you had it the first
Yeah,
time."
and I'm like, "No, no." I liked it better there, and I'm like, "That's why I had it there to begin with, because it looks great there." "Well, maybe we could have more than 1 tree." I'm like, "Is she kidding me?" So I ordered another tree and put that tree up. Fortunately, a couple years ago, I got hip to those, I call them the slinky tree,
Uh-huh.
because they're just on a wire like a slinky, and you just put the pole in it and stand it up, and the tree just falls down over the pole, and there it is. So, you don't and they come fully decorated, lights and everything, so they're easy,
With
super
that.
easy.
Who would have thought, y'all? We got pop-up Christmas trees fully
Right?
decorated.
Right? And I don't like putting up decorations because I don't like taking them down,
Me
but I
either.
was looking forward to putting up the tree last year. I'm like, "That tree was a game changer." So
Yeah, that is funny. That is too funny. Look, but mama living her best life because she don't cook no more. She don't drive no more. So listen, she is getting her payback for raising you and Ginger. Now, does Ginger live near you all?
since we moved to Northern Virginia 2 years ago, she's about 2 hours and 45
Okay.
minutes away.
Okay.
Before, when we were in Richmond, she was only little more than an hour away, about an hour and 15 minutes from my house to her house.
Okay. So does mom ever go stay with her
N
anytime?
not really. If I'm going somewhere, like in the summer, I had a gig in South Carolina, and the next day I was gonna be in Atlanta. And so I don't mind her staying, like maybe one night in the house by herself,
Self.
but I don't
Okay.
want her to stay, any longer than that. So Ginger and my brother-in-law Luther, they came up together, and she was supposed to come back like Monday or Tuesday, but while I was down in South Carolina, I never got to do either show because I tested positive for COVID.
Hmm.
And I came home because I was and that drive was like 7 hours, 7.5 hours, and it felt like 20 because I was getting sicker as I was driving.
Yeah.
And, she ended up down there for 11 days. She kept saying, "Why can't I come home? I'm ready to come home." I'm like, "Ma, you can't, come home until I start testing negative."
Yeah, because you
So
definitely don't want her to get sick for sure, for
right.
sure. For
So
sure,
she
for
was there
sure.
11 days.
Yeah.
So
So look, you all, I've dropped Sharon's web information and her general contact email. And of course, you can follow her on social media at Sharon Ray North. So we want y'all to do two things. We want you to buy these books and give them to a child in your life. Definitely the one with the prosthetic, and also buy her book. And I would give it to a senior because I'm sure any senior will see themselves in what you wrote, and probably even some very similar sayings, because I do believe These are some of the folklore things that probably got passed down from, I'm gonna say, all the way over from Africa to our people being here in America, the little
Mhm.
sayings that they came up with. So we definitely do that. And I for sure download all Sharon music off of these streaming apps. Don't be going to
Please.
YouTube just listening to it, okay? Go and pay for this stuff. Purchase it because Sharon had to pay folks. They don't just show up and her
Mm,
band just don't volunteer to work for her. And we have to remember that even with the artists that are major, they have to pay their people. And I hope they're paying their people decent living. You know, these big name folks. I hope they are. And then Sharon, you're really more like an indie artist,
I'm
right? Because you
independent.
produce all your stuff and you self-publish your books.
Mhm.
Y'all, now today there are so many ways to do things yourself. It's just simply amazing. So if you have an idea or a dream, the only reason you're not fulfilling it because you've decided you don't want to. You have many ways. I mean, all type of platforms. So we're gonna shift gears now, Sharon, and go
Okay.
into this music world. Cause I don't look. I don't want them sending me no hate email because I ain't talk about that. So give them a little bit background on where did your love of music start, and at
Mhm.
what point did you realize, oh, I can carry a tune here now?
I realized it when I was very, very little, maybe 3
Mm-hmm.
or 4 years old, and I would sit next to my parents' stereo, sit on the floor, and my right ear would be right next to the speaker,
Mm-hmm.
because it's one of those floor, remember those long stereos that took up half a wall in your house? And I would sit there listening to Nancy Wilson,
Okay.
Barbara Streisand, King Curtis and the Kingpins. I would listen to, and my sister and I, we would listen to like Mary Poppins and the Chipmunks and stuff like that too. But I was just enthralled with those voices and with that music. And I didn't know it then, but I was studying.
Yeah.
And other than sitting on the floor next to a stereo, I still study music and voices the exact same way. I might have my headphones on now, but I'm studying them. And I did that when I was a little girl. So I always knew that I wanted to sing. I always knew that. And it just really made me so happy, singing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it still does.
Yeah.
I
So have
love
you
singing.
identified, is it from mama, dad, or both? Can mom sing?
My mother had a beautiful voice.
Okay.
When I was growing up, she had just a wonderful voice. Um, I was telling someone the other day how I had a gig a couple years ago, well, longer than that, probably about 3 years ago or so now. And my mom was there and she was sitting on the front row. And well, when I was doing sound check and warming up and stuff, she said, I was doing Over the Rainbow. And she said, why don't you do that song? And I was like, oh, I don't know. It was just me and a keyboard player at this event. He was playing a grand
Mm-hmm.
piano. And I said, well, I don't know if Lance knows it, but I knew he did because we had done it before at some
Mm-hmm.
point. So I told Lance, I said, end of the night, let's do Over the Rainbow. So we got to Over the Rainbow, end of the night. And I was telling the story of how when I was a little girl, my dad would be at work, my sister would be at school because Ginger is 6 years older than me. And I would be home with my mom. And, we didn't have central air conditioning. Most people
Mm-hmm.
didn't have that back then. So the windows would be open. And I'd be out on the patio playing. And my mom would be in the kitchen fixing dinner and stuff. And she'd be singing. And a lot of times she'd be singing Over the Rainbow. And it was just so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So now here we're at this gig. And I tell that story and I start singing Over the Rainbow. And I looked at my mom sitting there and I thought, I used to be a little girl on the patio listening to her, and she was probably in her 20s then.
Mm.
And now she's in her 80s and she's sitting there listening to me singing it. And I mean, I don't know how it happened, but tears just started streaming down my face. I mean, I could not stop them. I'm like, "What is going on?" I mean, just streaming. It wasn't one little Denzel in tear in glory. It was just streaming, and then my voice cracked, and it was just an experience.
Yeah, that's a moment when you're because you're looking at the roles reverse. So let me ask
Mhm.
this, Sharon, because I was going to ask this with your mom when it was like real, you're really going to have this music career. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna say, I say the first time your mom saw you, I guess you say perform. What did she express to you what that was like? Did she possibly have that type dream and just didn't have an opportunity? Or
I
did
think
y'all ever
maybe
discuss
she
that?
we never really discussed that, but I think probably she did, because nearly everyone has dreams and stuff, but then there's life, and you get
Yeah,
married, and you have these 2 little girls, and you're divorced, and you gotta
yeah,
take care of them and keep a roof over their heads and do for them, and so your dreams go unfulfilled.
yeah,
So, I think that there's a part of it that she's very happy when she's at shows and she sees me up there, you know?
with everything. Look,
Though she
and one of
did tell
one of
my
your
cousin one time, I heard her tell my cousin on the phone, I don't know what they were talking about. She said, "Well, people be paying her a lot of money and all she do is sing." So
hey mama, this money got this lifestyle you got going on right about now. It is funny. Look at what hey Miss Eleanor Fisher said, and I put it on the screen. Music, she said she loved your top, the music notes in your top. It
And
is,
then
it
and
is beautiful.
it's funny because it's got one shoulder, it's this is the sleeve and this one's
Uh-huh.
no sleeve, and it feels weird.
Yeah, you have to adjust one sleeve, no sleeve. Yeah, so that is amazing because I know for me, one thing I say tell my children, and I think this is sometimes what others don't get with us because they're like, "Well, Valerie, you're a nurse. What are you talking about? The struggle and everything." It was that even with me being a nurse, and I'm only 57 now, is that there were things I didn't even know were options for me until I was much older. So as it relates to my children, I try to tell them, you have this opportunity, you have that opportunity. Case in point, both my kids are actually in career fields that me and their dad noticing them as little kids, and that's what we nourished. It wasn't about, well, if you go be a this, you can make that. I've always believed that whatever your gift and talent is, if you follow that, God will provide for you in that.
Mhm.
And so, like with my son and his dream job at EA Sports, he been gaming since he was 9, and we bought a lot of PS4s, Xboxes, and it was funny when he majored and he said he was gonna work at EA Sport. He was like, "See, mom, getting a return on that investment, all those games and stuff we bought."
Mm.
So, with you recognizing that you had this talent at 3, and of course your mama being a singer, you pursued it. And even though you may have to do another type job or whatever, you still can hone your craft in that thing that you are passionate about, and we have to remember that. So look, y'all, our time almost winding down, so we're gonna play a song from Sharon's new album, Silhouette. And this, y'all, it's called The Kiss That Wakes You now. Don't y'all log off and go call your significant other, okay? Your husband, wives, or whatever, okay? I told the Val to making me work
Yeah.
without him here. Well, you know what? Let me do this first. But Sharon, I thank you so much for coming on. It has really been great. And I always love to have you on. Um, and I love your voice. I love the huskiness, the sorcerousness of it. It's just so, as you say, people always say Anita Baker. She
Yeah.
say,
I do get that. I get that a
Yeah,
lot.
lot. Yeah. So really, 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 really love that. Love it. Yeah, just beautiful. Just beautiful.
Thank you.
So here we go.
You keep keeping me from keeping you guessing. Guess I was guessing wrong. Did I come on too strong? Well, I am strong. I'll be your starry night, spreading your wings for flight. I'll be the wind that takes you. And as you dream one night, under the dawn's first light, I'll be the kiss that wakes you, shadowing your soul. I'll be the one. Was I way off base? I couldn't tell by your face. You can be so deceiving. Oh, come on, boy, what you got to lose? Your mama won't disapprove. I know she will love me too. I'll be your starry night, spreading your wings for flight. I'll be the wind that takes you. And as you dream one night, under the dawn's first light, I'll be the kiss that wakes you. Come on. I'll be your starry night, spreading your wings for flight. I'll be the wind that takes you. And as you dream one night, under the dawn's first light, I'll be the kiss that wakes you, shadowing your soul. I'll be the one. You keep keeping me from keeping you guessing. Guess I was guessing wrong. Did I come on too strong? Well, I am strong. I'll be your starry night, spreading your wings for flight. I'll be the wind that takes you. And as you dream one night, under the dawn's first light, I'll be the kiss that wakes you. I'll be your starry night, spreading your wings for flight. I'll be the wind that takes you. And as you dream one night, under the dawn's first light, I'll be the kiss that wakes you. The kiss that wakes you. Come on. Come on. Your kiss got me open wide, turned up and high. Excuse me while I kiss the sky. Come on. Your kiss got me open.
That's fire. That is fire. That is fire.
Thank
That
you.
is fire. Look, if y'all don't want to go by that, I can't help you. And so let me say this. I love your voice is just so smooth and just controlled. And you know, you don't have to sing loud. It's just so perfect. It is
Y
just so perfect.
you know, that with the exception of Moments, because that was done in 2019,
Mm-hmm.
I did the entire rest of that album with that pseudo cyst on my vocal cord, and it was so
Wow.
difficult. Oh, it was so difficult, and I hear things that I would have done differently or would have liked to have done differently, I just couldn't, so I'm like, "Dang, I should have waited and just did the whole album now." But
No, no, go ahead and do the album when you need it to, because that song is perfect. And look, I see my sister watching. Happy birthday, sister. That was dedicated to you and your boo. Uh,
Oh.
yes, her birthday is today, and she is 71 years younger. I call her my sister mother because she's 14 years
Mm.
older than me. I'm the baby that they somehow think that I'm the one that take care of all of them. I told them, well, as I get older, they don't seem as old. When I was like 10, and I was 10, they was just like, y'all old. Now I'm 57. I'm like, well, 71 ain't that far. It ain't really to make a big difference. So Sharon, we have really enjoyed you, continued success, and I'm just
Thank
looking
you.
forward to all your projects. And I'm getting looking forward to seeing you in person because I've always been an old soul.
Mhm.
I've always loved live bands. And who was playing those keyboards on that song?
Big Dog, Chris
Oh,
Davis.
goodness, Big Dog. You were doing the doggone thing. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. And look, I got to give a shout out, y'all. For those that's from my hometown watching, look, y'all, Sharon been to Atmore. She sang at a wedding reception at a church
I
there many, many, many,
did.
many years ago
I sure
with
did.
everything. So she familiar with down in that area because she was done Bay Fest before.
Mhm.
So we enjoyed you. Keep us posted. Make sure we promote everything. And where's your next show? You have anything coming near Birmingham or in Birmingham?
I'll be in Georgia next Saturday, but in Conyers, so I'll be near Atlanta.
Atlanta and Conyers.
Yeah,
Okay, then. Okay. Well, if
yeah.
anybody's over in the ATL area, look, Sharon's coming your way. I'm about to tell my girlfriend. She may be able to check you out. I
Mhm.
already got a prior obligation for that. But I am looking forward to seeing you definitely.
Yeah, Imma call him out. Tell Carter to help me get a gig down there.
Carter,
Mhm.
get on it. Look, and y'all, Carter is back. We want to thank the Lord for him because Carter scared us
Yeah,
during the classic weekend. He gonna try to get real sick. So we just think he's back on the mend. Also,
yeah.
one of our great music people we love, Andy Stokes. He was sick, so we just been praying for him as well. We want everybody to be healed. Okay, we
Want
believe in
everybody
prayer on
doing
the
good.
show for sure.
Yeah.
So Carter's just getting back. Had to stay on him for him not to be hard headed,
Mhm.
moving too slow, moving too fast because men have a tendency to do that.
Yes,
So
they
look,
do.
you all, Valton, hope all is well with you.
Yeah.
LaCherie, give him our love. And we thank you all for joining Conversations Art, the Val and Val show. You all have a wonderful night and be careful if you're in our area because we do have some rain and some wet streets and I don't want anybody to be hurt. Y'all take care. Love y'all.